Alright, so today we're going to talk about something really interesting, and what we're going to talk about today is the 3 different kinds of theirs. And so, Joe will talk about when you use each one. I have these lists of examples, and in each of these sentences there are 3 examples of how to correctly use each there. So try to look at the first 3 and try to see if you notice anything similar, or when do you think this there needs to be used? These first 3.
The first 3?
Yeah. Try to see if you noticed a pattern, or in which case it might be used.
Used when referring to people.
Right? How about the next 3? Do you see any pattern there?
Going places?
How about the last 3?
Doing something? I don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about the first 3. You mentioned that what's common in these one is that it refers to people, which is true because this there is a possessive. So it's saying that somebody has more than one person has ownership over something. So an easy way to know when to use this there is if you can replace the sentence with his or her and it still makes sense, then that means that you can use this there. And then in the second one, you said, did you say going places for this one?
Yes.
Okay. So this one is, you're right, it's talking about places. So this there, it's referring to a place. And a way to put that to test is if you cut off the T, it says here, which is also referring to a location. And if you can cut off the T and say here, and it still kind of makes sense in the sentence, it won't mean the same thing, but it still makes sense, then it would be appropriate to use that there. And this one, I forgot what you said about this one. Do you remember?
Doing something?
Doing something? Yeah. So this there is a contraction, and it means they are. So if you take away the apostrophe and put an A, it means they are. So if you can reread the sentence, and if it makes sense by putting they are instead of there, then that's when you use this one. Does that make sense?
I guess.
This one is possessive, like I said. It means ownership. You can replace it with his or her. This one is location. You can replace it with here. And then this one is a contraction. That means they are. So that's a lot of information. So we're going to put that to test and see if you can apply this. So everybody get their whiteboards out. And I'm going to read some sentences with the word there in it. And try to see if you can figure out which there needs to be used. Okay, so the first sentence is, sadly, it is obvious that they're the worst team in the league. Sadly, it is obvious that they're the worst team in the league. Once you write down your word, you can show me. You don't have to worry about your neighbors seeing. And then once everybody has their board up, we'll move on to the next sentence. one is, I always say there is no better time than the present. I always say there is no better time than the present. Okay. Next one. I hope there are no nuts in this cake. I hope there are no nuts in this cake. You can use it if you want. Okay. I got stuck in traffic on the way to their apartment. I got stuck in traffic on the way to their apartment. Okay. It was their last game of the season. It was their last game of the season. Okay. It's not their fault that none of the players know how to play. It's not their fault that none of the players know how to play. Paul said that they're going to need a lot of rest after the trip. Paul said that they're going to need a lot of rest after the trip. Soon it was clear that there was no way out. Soon it was clear that there was no way out. Okay. So how did you guys feel about that exercise? Did you feel like you got most of them right? Did you feel like you were sure about your answers? How did you feel?
Got it right.
Did you feel sure? Like, did you feel like you knew what you were writing, or did you feel like you were unsure about your answers?
Most of them I felt like I was definitely writing. I was right. No.
Well, you got them all right, so I'm impressed. So hopefully, as you keep practicing in your own writing, you'll remember these 3 simple rules of knowing when to use each there. And yeah, great job today.